Thank you for watching. Subscribe on Betrayed Man's Diary for more stories. You know that cliché line from movies? I never saw it coming. That was me, 25 years old, full of stupid optimism, already mapping out a future with someone who wasn't just a girlfriend, but the person I thought I'd build my life with. Her name was Lauren. Blonde, sharp-witted, high energy. She could make a joke land like a punch or a punch land like a joke. One of those people you couldn't ignore if you tried. We met in early 2016 through mutual friends. It started as casual drinks and late-night texts that always ended with her saying, "I'm not ready for something serious." And yet, by month 3, I was basically living at her place. You know how that goes. You start leaving socks, then drawers, then somehow you're splitting grocery bills and waking up next to them every morning like it just happened. We weren't perfect. No couple is. But back then, I really thought we were solid. We had our fights, sure, but we always came back from them. And I was a fixer, her fixer. She had this complicated past with her ex, a guy named Zach, who she swore was the worst mistake of her life. Every time his name came up, it was with disgust, exhaustion, sometimes even fear. She painted him like this obsessive ex who didn't know how to let go. And I believed her. I believed everything. Because that's the stupid thing about love when you're young, you don't realize that trust isn't a feeling. It's a choice you're making every day, often without evidence. And sometimes, you're wrong. Looking back, there were signs. Not huge flashing ones, just little ripples. Like the way her phone always flipped face down when we sat on the couch. Or how she suddenly started locking it with a passcode, even though she used to leave it wide open. Or the time she accidentally called me Zach during a fight, then laughed it off as stress. I remember that night. Her laugh was too fast, too high-pitched. It didn't sound like her. But I let it go. I let everything go, because every time I doubted her, she'd lean in and say something like, "You're the only person who's ever made me feel safe." And God, did that land. I wore that line like armor. Until the night it shattered. It was a Thursday. Early fall. I remember because it was that awkward time of year when it's warm during the day but freezing at night. I was working a double shift and texted Lauren to let her know I might not make it home until midnight. She didn't answer right away, which wasn't unusual. But around 9 p.m., I started getting this pit in my stomach. Call it intuition. Call it paranoia. But I suddenly knew something was off. So I left early. I got to her apartment around 10:30. The living room lights were off, but I could see her bedroom lamp glowing through the blinds. I didn't announce myself. Just unlocked the door and walked in quietly. I wish I hadn't. I wish I could say I caught them in bed, that I made some dramatic scene, screamed, punched a wall. But that's not what happened. What happened was worse. I walked into the hallway and heard the kind of laughter you can't fake. The kind that bubbles up between two people who are past the awkward stages of attraction and deep into intimacy. I turned the corner, and there they were. Not in bed. Not naked. Just, close. Too close. Sitting on the edge of the bed, legs touching. Her hand on his knee. And Zach, F******ing Zach, with that smug, all-knowing grin that made me feel like the last year of my life had been a goddamn joke. She looked up and saw me, and her face crumbled. Not in guilt. In inconvenience. As if I had ruined a perfectly good evening. I didn't stay. Didn't say a word. I turned around and walked out. She called after me once. "James, wait," but that was it. No footsteps. No running. No pleading. Just the sound of a door shutting quietly behind me. What followed were the worst 3 months of my life. I moved out. Got my own place. Started therapy for the first time. Stopped answering texts from mutual friends. Ate like crap. Slept like garbage. Cried in my car more times than I'll ever admit publicly. And during all of it, she barely tried. 1 week apology over text. That's all I got. And then nothing. Until a year later, when someone sent me a picture of her and Zach, together, smiling, arm in arm at some wedding like they hadn't torn me in half a few months earlier. That was the moment something in me changed. Not just emotionally. Strategically. I didn't want to get back at her, not then. But I knew that if the day ever came where the universe handed me an opportunity to see the scale balance, I'd take it. And I wouldn't even blink. After that picture of them at the wedding, I hit a kind of emotional rock bottom that I didn't even know existed. I didn't smash things or scream into the void like they show you in movies. What I did was worse. I got quiet. Like, pathologically quiet. The kind of quiet that scares your coworkers, makes your parents check in more often, and has your buddies awkwardly saying things like, "You still with us, man?" I was alive. Technically. But inside? I was on autopilot. I started living like a ghost in my own skin. I spent the next 2 years rebuilding, piece by agonizing piece. It wasn't sexy. It wasn't inspiring. There was no montage. Just a lot of empty nights, long drives, and too many drinks that didn't fix anything but helped me pretend for a while. Therapy was a turning point. Not overnight, but slowly, it made me realize something big. It wasn't about Lauren. It was about me. About what I let slide. What I ignored. What I refused to believe because loving her felt safer than losing her. That's when I made a promise to myself, never again. Never again would I let someone gaslight me out of my gut instinct. Never again would I let red flags become home decor. Never again would I confuse emotional scraps for loyalty. Meanwhile, life went on. I moved cities. Got a better job. Got my own place, nothing fancy, but mine. I dated, casually at first, then more seriously. Met a woman named Heather, who was kind, grounded, had a laugh that made you want to lean in and tell her things. We dated for a year. And it was good, better than good, even. But she always knew I was holding something back. Because I was. Because the ghost of Lauren and what she did still lingered in the back of my brain, whispering things like, what if it happens again? What if she's just better at hiding it? Eventually, I ended things with Heather. Not because I didn't care. But because I couldn't give her what she deserved. Not yet. I needed to finish what Lauren started in me. And life, as if it had been watching patiently all this time, decided to hand me the perfect chance. 3 years after the breakup, I got a text from a number I didn't recognize. "Hey, is this still James?" I stared at it for a while before replying. "Yeah." "Who's this?" "It's Lauren." "Can we talk?" My stomach dropped. I didn't answer right away. I waited 4 hours. Then replied. "Talk about what?" She said she was in town. Said she was going through some stuff. Said she missed how real things were with me. I didn't say no. But I didn't say yes either. I let it hang. Let her sit in the same purgatory she left me in years ago. 3 days later, I ran into her. Total coincidence, at least, that's what I thought at first. Turns out she'd seen a tagged photo of me at a local bar and made sure to show up the next time I might be there. When I saw her walk in, I felt nothing. No rage. No longing. Just curiosity. She looked older, a little thinner, same laugh, but it didn't hit the same. She made her way over like she hadn't shattered me before. Like it was normal. I kept the conversation light. She was careful with her words, scanning my face like she was trying to read how much of a chance she had. Then she dropped the bomb. "Zach. Gone. Apparently, it had fallen apart after he cheated on her. And not once. Multiple times. With someone they both knew. Someone she trusted. The irony didn't miss me. Not one bit. She said, "I never realized how much damage I caused you until I went through it myself." I wanted to laugh. Instead, I just nodded. Then she added, "You were the only person who never treated me like I was disposable." I didn't reply. Because that wasn't a compliment. It was a confession. We kept talking. Coffee turned into drinks. Drinks turned into longer conversations. She said she'd changed. Said therapy helped. Said she understood herself more now. I didn't fully believe her. But I didn't need to. Because I wasn't looking to fall back in. I was looking for something else. Something more final. Not revenge. Not really. Just closure. And maybe, just maybe, the chance to see if someone like her could be undone the same way she undid me. It was strange how easily Lauren reinserted herself into my life. She didn't kick down the door. Didn't beg. She just slipped in like smoke through a crack in the window. One coffee here, do you remember when, text there, the occasional excuse to just talk. She kept her tone light. Casual. As if all the blood had already dried and this was just an innocent reunion of two people who used to mean something to each other. I didn't challenge it. Not yet. I let her believe I was still a little soft. Still a little curious. Still wondering what if. And I was. Just not in the way she assumed. She thought she could pull the strings. She had no idea I had cut them years ago. She told me everything. How Zach had turned into exactly what she claimed to have escaped in him. How she'd left her job after a workplace affair rumor that wasn't true, or maybe it was. How she'd gone back to live with her sister for a while, reset her life, started fresh. She said she realized how badly she'd ed up with me. That word again, realized. Like epiphany was a substitute for remorse. She never said she was sorry the way I needed to hear it. It was always wrapped in excuses, therapy speak, or a vague, "I wasn't in a good place." But she was there now. Back. Rebuilt. And maybe, just maybe, looking for another shot. I played the part. Smiled when she reached for my hand. Didn't pull away when she leaned her head on my shoulder after drink 3. Let her talk about our good times like they hadn't been framed in betrayal. I didn't remind her what she did. Didn't throw her past in her face. That would have been too easy. Instead, I asked her things like, "Do you ever wonder how things would have gone if Zach hadn't come back into the picture?" She nodded, instantly. Too fast. "Do you regret how you handled that night?" Another nod. Eyes welling. Every day. I leaned back. She thought she was winning me over. But I was gathering intel. Here's what I learned in the weeks that followed. Lauren wasn't in a good place emotionally. Sure, she looked better on the outside, cleaner style, clearer skin, more composed, but inside? Still fractured. She jumped jobs every 6 months. Couldn't stick to anything. Her relationships post-Zach were either too intense or dead on arrival. She admitted, drunkenly, one night, that she was scared she'd never feel real love again. I said, "Maybe you already did." And threw it away. She didn't respond. Just stared at her drink like it held the version of herself she missed most. We slept together once. And yes, I know how that sounds. But it wasn't romance. It wasn't even closure. It was research. It was standing in the room where a fire once started, striking a match, and watching the walls stay still this time. There was no lightning in my chest. No emotional tidal wave. She cried after. I didn't. She said, "I don't know why I do this. And for the first time, I said, because it's who you are. No sugarcoating. No rescuing. Just truth. She got dressed quietly. Kissed my cheek like she was grateful for something I couldn't name. Left without asking if she could come back. The next morning, I did what she probably never expected. I called Zach. Calling Zach wasn't part of some long-brewing revenge fantasy. It wasn't even about retribution. It was about confirmation. You can heal. You can move on. But until you stop giving your memory of someone the benefit of the doubt, there's always a loose thread waiting to unravel the whole damn thing. So I called him. And he picked up. Hello. His voice hadn't changed. Still had that smirky, lazy drawl. The kind of tone that always felt like he was just barely paying attention to you. Hey. It's James. A pause. Long enough for recognition to kick in. Oh, he said. Didn't expect to hear from you. Yeah, I replied. I'm not here to stir anything. I just want to know one thing. Another pause. I could hear background noise, probably a bar. That checked out. Did you and Lauren ever actually stop seeing each other after that night I caught you? He exhaled like I'd asked the most predictable question in the world. Man, no. Not really. Just like that. No hesitation. No apology. We kept talking, he said. She'd say it was over, then we'd meet up again. It was messy. And during that time, I said, voice flat, was she telling you she was done with me? He chuckled. She said a lot of things. I didn't reply. Didn't need to. He added, she lies to whoever she's in front of, man. You're not the first. And in that moment, I finally let go of every last drop of guilt I'd ever held over being paranoid. I wasn't paranoid. I was right. I didn't tell Lauren about the call. Didn't mention it. Didn't hint. Instead, I just observed. And she kept doing what she did best, performing. She started texting more. Sending old photos. Talking about what we could be if we tried again. She said she was in a better place now. She wanted to build something real this time. And I let her believe I was listening. But I was already making other calls. Remember that job she said she lost unfairly? I knew someone who worked at the same company. Someone I'd met through a side project a year ago. She didn't know Lauren personally but knew the story, the real one. Apparently, Lauren hadn't been fired over rumors. She'd been warned multiple times about showing favoritism. Missing shifts. Getting too involved with a subordinate. When HR finally pulled her in, she deflected. Cried. Blamed stress. They gave her a choice, resign quietly, or get written up and eventually terminated. She chose the former and spun the narrative her own way. It was all part of the pattern. Victim first, then savior, then martyr. I didn't say anything to her. Just filed it away. Because the longer she thought she was rebuilding something with me, the more tangled the threads got. And I was about to start pulling. 2 weeks later, I got the text that told me everything I needed to know. Hey, would you mind if I put you down as a personal reference for a job I'm applying for? I stared at it. Laughed. And replied, of course. Because what better way to burn a bridge than to walk someone halfway across it first? When Lauren asked me to be a reference for her job application, I saw it for what it really was. Not just a request. A test. She wanted to know how much of me she still had. If she could still count on me to support her like I did back when I believed every word that left her mouth. If I was still the man she betrayed, just more forgiving this time around. So I said yes. Because I wasn't angry anymore. I was methodical. I didn't call the company. I didn't sabotage her directly. All I did was tell the truth, the truth she had long buried under half-confessions and therapy catchphrases. When the hiring manager called, I gave them a calm, detailed breakdown of my experience with Lauren. Yes, we were in a relationship. Yes, she's incredibly charismatic. Yes, she's capable, but inconsistent. When things are going well, she's excellent. But under pressure, she tends to bend the truth to protect herself. I didn't slander her. I didn't make up a single word. But I made sure they knew, she was a gamble. They thanked me for my honesty. And I knew that was the end of that opportunity. She never brought it up again. Which told me everything I needed to know. Either they didn't call her back, or she knew I had told the truth, and she didn't want to face it. Instead, she pivoted. Started talking about wanting stability. Said she might move in with her mom to save money. Mentioned, offhandedly, that she felt like she was starting over at zero. I didn't say it aloud, but in my head, I thought. You're not starting at zero. You're standing in the rubble of the tower you built with lies. And now, finally, you're looking down. One night, we met up again. She looked tired. Makeup didn't cover the stress anymore. Her phone kept lighting up with texts she ignored. She was quiet. Eventually, she said, "Do you ever feel like you're being punished for something you didn't mean to do?" I said, "Every decision has a price." She looked at me like I'd slapped her. But I didn't blink. I think she knew then. Maybe not the details. But the vibe shifted. I wasn't the man hoping to win her back anymore. I was the one who could have, and didn't want to. That night, she didn't invite herself over. She just hugged me, said she hoped we could still be friends, and walked to her car. I didn't stop her. Didn't text her later. Didn't ask if she made it home. Because something in me had finally snapped into place. Not anger. Not sadness. Balance. She drifted after that. Less contact. Fewer updates. The flirty text stopped. I stopped replying to the ones she did send. And then she went quiet altogether. I figured it was over. But fate, or karma, or irony, had one more twist waiting. Because 2 months later, I saw her again. This time, she wasn't alone. She was walking out of a coffee shop, with Zach. The moment I saw them together, Lauren and Zach walking out of that coffee shop, I didn't feel rage. I felt tired. Not from loss. Not from heartbreak. From the sheer predictability of it all. They weren't holding hands, but they might as well have been. They walked side by side like people with too much history to pretend otherwise. She was laughing at something he said, that laugh I used to think was just for me. It wasn't. It was for whoever made her feel important that week. I stayed in my car and watched. Not like a stalker. Like a man watching a rerun of a show he used to love before he saw how poorly it ended. They didn't see me. They turned the corner and disappeared. And that should have been the end. But the universe wasn't done. 3 days later, she texted me. "Hey. I just want to say thank you for being so kind these last few months. I don't deserve it, but it meant a lot." That was her way of closing the door. No explanation about Zach. No acknowledgement. Just one last attempt to polish her own image on the way out. I thought about ignoring it. But then I thought about all the nights I lay awake wondering if I was the problem. If I'd failed her somehow. If I was the one who broke what we had. So I replied. "You're right. You didn't deserve it. But I gave it anyway. Because I needed to know who you really were. Now I do. And I'm good." She read it. Didn't reply. Didn't have to. Because nothing she said could change what I'd already known for months. This wasn't a second chance. It was a repeat cycle. And I had finally stepped off the ride. A week later, a mutual acquaintance sent me a message. Apparently, Zach had dumped her. Again. This time, for someone younger. She'd told people she was blindsided. That they were talking about getting serious again. He ghosted her. No goodbye. Just silence. A few months after that, the house she was renting went up for sale. She moved back in with her mom. Started working part-time at a boutique store across town. No degree. No long-term career. No partner. Just her. And the choices she made. And for the first time since I met her, I didn't feel anything about it. No pity. No smugness. Just distance. Like watching a storm from miles away. Loud, but harmless now. Meanwhile, I'd moved on. Not to someone else. Just forward. I slept better. Smiled more. Trusted again, carefully, but openly. I wasn't perfect. Still had scars. But I wasn't haunted. And that was enough. More than enough. It's funny how closure doesn't show up when you expect it. I used to think closure came in the form of apologies. Tearful confessions. Someone looking you in the eye and finally saying, "You were right." But that's not how it works. Closure isn't loud. It's not even satisfying. It's quiet. It's waking up one morning, making coffee, and realizing you haven't thought about her in weeks. It's driving past a place that used to make your stomach twist, and feeling nothing. It's realizing you've stopped rewriting the story in your head. You're not trying to make sense of it anymore. It just is. It happened. And now it's behind you. I won't lie and say I came out of this unscathed. Lauren broke something in me that took years to fix. She made me question everything, about trust, about love, about my own ability to see people clearly. And that wasn't her fault alone. I handed her that power. I silenced my gut for the sake of peace. I ignored red flags because I didn't want to believe someone who held my hand could also be holding someone else's attention. But I know better now. And more importantly, I live better now. I've dated since then. Nothing serious. Not yet. But I'm not closed off. I don't carry Lauren into every conversation or compare new people to her shadow. That was the real test, honestly. Not moving on from her, but moving on from what she did to me. The paranoia. The self-doubt. The constant second-guessing. That's what infidelity does. It doesn't just break your heart. It rewires your brain. Makes you suspicious of kindness. Wary of routine. Makes you wonder if safety is just the lie people tell before they hurt you. But every day, that wiring fades. Every day, I trust a little more. Not recklessly. But without fear. Sometimes people ask me if I'd take her back now, knowing everything. If she showed up tomorrow, said all the right things, promised she was changed. And the answer is simple. No. Because she didn't just cheat on me. She reduced me. She took my love, the kind that shows up, stays loyal, forgives too often, and treated it like a placeholder until something more exciting came along. And you don't come back from that. Not really. I still keep a few of our old photos. Not because I miss her. But because I like remembering how naive I was. How open. How ready I was to give someone everything. And how, despite everything, I'm still that guy. Just smarter now. Stronger. Wiser. And a hell of a lot harder to break. Lauren taught me one thing I'll always be grateful for. She taught me what I don't want. What I won't tolerate. And what I deserve. And because of that, I'm better now. Not in spite of her betrayal. But because of it. Full circle. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe for more incredible stories like this one.